Welcome back or welcome to the Mind Your Hormones podcast. I feel like it's been so long since I've recorded because if you're listening to this in real time, it's the first Tuesday of the new year of January. And I took off for a couple of weeks from the holidays. So like I've recorded ahead of time. And so I feel like it's been such a long time since I've sat down and recorded. And I'm like, oh, welcome back to myself. It's like, it feels so good to be back on the mic. Today's episode is going to be a quick one, and it's really just not just for new moms, but I really want to talk about this because this is the first year. So for context, if those of you don't know, I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, and this is the first year that I did like a vision board, 2026 goals, all of that since she's been born. I always did that before. Like I did a vision board for years. I don't even remember the first year I did it. I can't even remember, but I've done a vision board for years, every single year up until I had Madison. I hung it up. I did visuals. It was always like on my background on my phone, on the kitchen, like on the refrigerator in the kitchen, like always front and center, like always. And then I became a mom and I had her in June. And like that year after, it was like, we also moved, renovating a house. There was so much going on. And there's also so much going on in my personal life aside from becoming a mom, where creating like new year intentions and goals, it was just not in like my realm of awareness of possibility. It wasn't even something I had the mental capacity to do. And if you're in that space right now, whether you are a new mom, and that could be you're a couple weeks postpartum, couple months postpartum, couple years postpartum. Like I said, my daughter's 2.5, and this is the first year I feel like I did my vision board. I actually didn't even finish it yet, but that's because I'm just like finalizing things. But this is the first year I really feel like excited again. I have some creativity back. I have new ideas for the business that I feel like I could actually roll out. I have things I want to just do in my personal life. Like I finally feel excited and like rejuvenated going into a new year and wanting to even cast a vision for it where I haven't for the last few years. And some of that was because of motherhood. I don't want to blame it like, oh, like she's the reason I didn't, have a vision. It's like it wasn't a bad thing. And that's really why I want to have the conversation. I don't view that as a bad thing. And it could be so easy for you right now, whether you're a new mom or not, whether like maybe you're just going through something really hard that you just don't feel like you want to do like 2026 fucking goals right now. It could be so hard around this time of year to see everybody being like, new year, new me, here are my goals, here are my intentions, like so excited, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, I brush my teeth today? I slept maybe 2 hours. What is happening? I literally don't know. Or you could just be like in deep grief or struggle or whatever it is that you're going through, where it literally like your 2026 goals, you just don't give two shits about. And I think that's okay. And we have to really honor the season that we're in. And I don't feel any, like, it's not like I'm like, oh shoot, I wish that, I could have been so much further along in certain things if I just did my vision board when I, those last 2 years. I don't feel like that at all because I wasn't in the headspace for it. I didn't have the mental capacity for it because my mental capacity was strictly on like the transitions of motherhood, totally new identity, figuring out how to parent, first of all, figuring out how to parent, figuring out who I was again now that I am a mom, figuring out how to be a full-time stay-at-home mom while also running my business. Like there were so many things. And on top of that, there was major stress and struggles in my personal life aside from motherhood, where there was no space for anything other than survival for the last 2 years. And you might be in a similar space right now. And I just want you to feel like you don't need to force yourself to do a vision board. You're not getting behind. You're not like, you don't have to feel shame around it. You're going to feel better again at some point, right? This is like the storm doesn't last. You know what I mean? It doesn't even have to be a storm. You could be like, I love motherhood. Like I mean, I've loved it since the second she was born. It's my greatest gift. I love it so much. That doesn't mean it's easy. It's obviously the hardest thing I've ever done, Well, there's a lot of other things. But anyway, that's besides the point. But like it it just means that your intention, your capacity, your mental space is somewhere else. And it's where it needs to be. My mental capacity needed to be on mostly on motherhood and just like surviving my personal life. It didn't need to be on a vision board back then. Didn't. And maybe that's where you are right now. And maybe you just need to give yourself permission to not feel like you're a piece of shit or feel shameful or you're, oh my God, I'm losing myself or I'm never going to have a vision again. Like you will. You will again. I promise you. And for me, like, I don't know why. I just feel like a lot of the narrative around motherhood, it's like, oh yeah, by 3 months or sleeping through the night and you'll feel back to yourself after a few months. And it's like, it took a lot longer for me personally. And I think for a lot of people. So you might be like, yeah, but Corinne, but like I'm a year postpartum and whatever. Yeah, but like it's still really hard. Like it is. And it doesn't get easier. It does in certain ways. It definitely does in certain ways. Like I said, I have more mental capacity now because I'm like, yeah, I got the hang of the mom thing at this point, right? There's always new challenges. There's always new things. She still, she was up literally for 2 hours in the middle of the night last night. That's a whole nother topic. So like the sleep thing is still whatever, but you will have more of that mental capacity again. And if you don't have it right now, don't force it. The last thing you want to do is try and force yourself into a vision board, into a goal, into an intention just because you feel like you have to because everybody else is. That is not going to be supportive for you, for your family, for your children or your child, for anything. Because even if you can like muster up the mental energy capacity to like be creative and have a vision, have all these things, you're likely not going to be able to follow through with most of the things you've put on that vision board if you're a new parent and you're learning how to juggle parenting and working and you have other stuff going on in your personal life. So then you're just going to feel like a failure because you're like, well, I didn't get to any of the things on my vision board this year. And it's like, yeah, but you kept a human alive and you made that baby feel safe and loved and taken care of and you were present with them and you learned how to juggle also going to work or, being stay-at-home mom and finding your identity and you really nourished your relationships and all these different things. And it's like some of that can't be put into a vision board but also it can too, right? It's like your vision board could literally just like, not just, your vision board could be being present with my child and doing one thing for myself this year that helps me feel like I'm coming back to me a little bit. Like, so there's two sides to this conversation that just came up as I'm talking aloud. One is you could throw the vision board idea out the window. You could throw the 2026 goals out the window, the intentions, all of that. It doesn't fucking matter, especially if you're a new mom. And again, new mom could be 0 weeks or like 1 week to, if you're listening to this 1 week postpartum, like you're winning. Okay. You're fucking winning. To 2 years, right? Like there is no time frame for this, especially when you may have other stuff going on in your personal life, adding on top of the mother load, okay, the mental load. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is maybe you do want to have, you're like, I feel really good doing that. Like I want to do something to feel like I have some intentions going into this year. Maybe feel a little bit ready for that. Awesome. It could be 1 to 2 simple things. Literally, it could be, okay, what is one thing that I really miss doing for myself that will help me feel more connected to myself as a person, not just as a mom, but as a person this year? What can I do? It could be, I'm gonna start going like to yoga outside of the home once a week again. Or I'm going to just be more consistent with your workouts because you knew it felt really good to you. You're going to commit to like 4 to 5 days a week. Or meditations. You're like, I really want to get back to that because I've been like very inconsistent with this as the baby's been born and I want to get back to that. It could be, I want to color or paint or I want to make sure that we have like a girls' night dinner or I want to go out to dinner with my girlfriends once a quarter. It could be literally anything. It could be, I want to just read in bed before I go to sleep. Like it doesn't have to be this big grandiose, like I want to triple my income. I want to, renovate the bathroom. I want to run a marathon. Like, it does not have to be big. It just has to be true to you, your current season, what is doable, but also stretches you a little bit, right? Like, but it depends on your season. Maybe you're stretched enough in certain capacities where you're like, I don't need to be stretched anymore. You know what I mean? Like, and I get it. I've been there. You don't need it to be something big if you want to do it at all. You don't need to even print up something big and fancy. You can just write it on a Post-it. Here are my 2 intentions for 2026. Slap the Post-it on your mirror in your bathroom and call it a fucking day. Like, it gets to be that easy. And the most important thing is that you shift your perspective so that it supports you where you're at. Again, if right now it is not the season for you to be talking about goals or intentions because you're 5 weeks postpartum, you're a couple months postpartum, you're so exhausted, you don't know what day it is, like you're just trying to juggle, maybe you're going back to work and or again, maybe you have other personal things going on in your life, whatever is happening, shift your perspective to, oh, this sucks, like I'm not able to do these goals, or now I'm falling behind, or I feel like everybody's like new year, new me, and I feel like I'm drowning. Like, you don't need that pressure. Motherhood could feel like you're drowning sometimes without that pressure. Shift your perspective to, I'm literally doing the most important thing I could be doing right now, which is taking care of my child, being present with my child, figuring this out, staying true to myself and my season. This is just a season. Think about how fast a year goes, especially once you become a parent. You blink and you're like, whoa, it's a new year. Like, it goes so fast. You're never going to get this time. Your baby is as small as they're ever going to be, right? You're never going to get this time back with them. And some people will disagree with this of like, oh, you shouldn't like lose yourself in motherhood. It's like, I'm so glad I lost myself in motherhood for that period of time. I wouldn't change a thing. I would lose myself even more in it because it goes so fast when they're so young, and you're going to have time to find yourself again. And I didn't totally lose myself. Like, I always took care of myself. I always ate well, took my supplements, like did my workouts and things like that. So I did not completely lose myself and throw everything out the window. Like, I do not believe that that is supportive for anybody. I think that's actually very negatively impactful for the entire family. But I did lose myself in a way where I wasn't focusing on like personal growth for me. And again, it wasn't just the motherhood thing. There were other things happening in my personal life that added to it. But that's okay. It's okay. And I think it's amazing that we're able to give our kids that time and attention and give that gift to ourselves of like really soaking up that time and like maybe putting some things on pause and on hold for a little bit. And then when you have that mental capacity and that mental space again, you'll get back to it. There's no expiration on your dreams, on your goals, on things. Like, you could write them down, like things that you maybe want to do in the future. And just so like you wrote it down, you solidify, like, I know I'm going to get to this one day, but maybe it's not going to be this year. Maybe it's not going to be this month. Maybe it's going to be the end of this year. And that's cool too. Just because it's in January doesn't mean like you have to have your whole life planned out because it's a new year. And I just had to bring this to the podcast because I never, if someone like before I was pregnant or before I had a baby, I should say, I never would have thought it would take me like 2.5 years to like do a vision board again, feel inspired again, be really creative again. I keep saying this too, but again, because everybody has this, there are other layers to things. It's not just motherhood that would like sometimes zap that from you. I don't want to say zap that from you because it really makes it feel like a negative thing, but where your attention just isn't on like growth in that way. Because if there weren't other things going on in my personal life, I may have gotten to this place sooner. But there were, and that needed my full like mental capacity. Like, I was straight survival. Okay. And I know some of you feel that, whether you are, again, just the motherhood aspect of it. Maybe you are dealing with grief of a family member. Maybe you're dealing with relationship challenges. Maybe you're dealing with moving away from your family, career changes. Like there's so many other things that happen that can add to your mental capacity that is already stretched super thin when you first become a mom, or just when you're a mom in general, that could take that capacity away, right? And there's a time and place, and there will come a time where you're like, okay, you've stretched your capacity, because there's always going to be things. You're always going to be a mom. There's always going to be more things. It's like motherhood doesn't get easier whatsoever. It just feels easier because in certain aspects, feels hard in certain aspects, feels easier in certain aspects, because your capacity has stretched. You have expanded your container for what you can handle, for what you can manage, for what you have space for. And that's a choice too. Because if you don't expand your container, you will be swallowed whole. Truly. Okay. Maybe I'll do a whole separate podcast episode on like what that really means, expanding your container, and what that looks like and how you can get to that place. But if you want me to do that, just message me on Instagram, and I'll do a podcast episode on that. But really what I want you to get out of this episode, honor the space that you're in. And know if you're settling versus settling into the season you're in, right? You don't want to feel like you're settling, meaning like, whatever, like I don't need to like, grow or do anything. I don't have any like ambition or anything like that. When really you do have the space for it, you're just kind of being like lazy and like you've lost momentum. So you're like, oh, it's just like too hard to pick it up again. If you're in that space, that's different. Then like, let's get some fire under there. Let's get some momentum going. Like, how can we bring a little bit more intention and vision into this year, if that's the space you're in? But if you're just like settling into the season that you're in, where you're just like, I'm really content, I'm peaceful with where I'm at, I want to just soak up being a mom right now and really pour my attention into that. I don't really feel like I want to do a huge, big vision, goals, intentions. Amazing. That's perfect. Just know where you're at. Be super honest with yourself of what you need to do to feel best. Maybe for you, what you need to do to feel best is, again, write 2 things out on a Post-it and stick it on your bathroom mirror. Maybe you're like, actually, I want to do a vision board. That would feel really good for me. Awesome. Do it. Maybe you're like, I don't even want to put a fucking Post-it together. Great. I didn't for the last 2 years either. Amazing. We survived. We're still great. And you'll get back to it at some point. Know where you're at. Be surrender to where you're at, and be really honest with yourself, so that you could then take a step in either direction or just settle into where you're at and know that that's perfect too. Okay. Because you can get so swallowed up in the messaging around January, and that just might not be where you're at right now. And don't let that make you feel shame or make you feel like you're falling behind or like you're never going to get where you want to go and all these things. The time will come. Maybe the time will come in a couple months. It could happen before 2027. It doesn't have to be like, oh, it's a whole nother year. It could just be in a few months. Things change so quickly in motherhood. It's crazy. So it could just happen a little bit later this year than you thought. That's fine too. So I hope this was helpful for you in just making you feel like, okay, like you could just like take a breath, like, whew, like the weight is lifted off. You don't feel so much pressure. But also, you're being honest with yourself of what you do need to feel good, because maybe you do need maybe a little bit of a push. Just be like, okay, I'm just gonna get a Post-it together at least, because we want you to feel peaceful and grounded with where you are, while also not settling and not just like succumbing to like lack of momentum. You know what I mean? So I love you. Hope this was helpful for you. If you have any mom friends or maybe new moms, again, maybe a couple of weeks or a couple of years, send this to them. Maybe they need this episode too. And if you want me to do an episode on like stretching, your capacity and stuff like that as a mom, I would love to do that for you. So just let me know if you want me to create that podcast episode. Okay. I love you so much. Happy, joyful, healthy, healing 2026. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for being here. If you loved this episode and learned something valuable,
please share it with a friend who you think would also love it, or post it on social media and tag me so I could personally say thank you for helping me spread this important message. I am beyond grateful to be here with you. So until next time, stay intentional, stay consistent, and always mind your hormones.